For the longest time, I treated guitar triads as the check engine light on my car. It's like, sure, it's a thing, but do I like really have to worry about this? Turns out you do, guys. Turns out you do. Also on guitar, but today we're talking about guitar triads and why you actually should use them, right? So I think one of the confusing things about triads is talking about them when you're talking about more than 3 notes. A triad is a 3-note chord, right? Like a G major chord is a triad, but we strum this G major where it's like 3-2 open open 3-3, and it's like we're strumming 6 strings even though we're only playing 3 notes. So I want to simplify this to actually break down only playing 3 notes by only playing 3 strings, all right? And I think something like this will simplify triads, and maybe you'll see the utility and how useful they really are once we do this, right? So today's video is sponsored by Sweetwater and G&L. They sent me this Rampage 24. I'll be talking about that throughout the video. I'll also link you to an unboxing I did with this in a performance. But basically what we have here is we're going to take 2 chords, a major chord and a minor chord that are always going to sound good together, G major and A minor. Okay, so a G major chord is a G, a B, and a D. And again, that's the triad. Those are your 3 notes no matter how many times. If we had a guitar with 100 strings and there were 50 Gs and 25 Bs and 25 Ds, that would still be a triad, which is kind of the confusing part about it when you're dealing with multiple strings and stuff like that. But here's the GBD we're starting off with. 5D, 4G, 3B, okay? And an A minor is an A, a C, and an E, okay? So those are 6 different notes, which is pretty much 6/7 of an entire major scale, which I think that's why this is a good example. Let's start with just the G major chord, all right? G, B, and D. So we've got this right here, 5, 4, 3. Everything we're gonna do is gonna be locked to the D, G, and B string, all right? So simplifying this, you don't need to really know any of the other strings for this point. But we're gonna go through different inversions of this G major chord. We're going to play a G, B, and a D in every inversion. An inversion is just where you don't start with the root note. So what I mean by that is when we start with a G, a B, and a D, my ring finger is holding down the G in this, getting its major third right there, and then the D, so G, B, D. This is like the ultimate triad right here because it's in order. Now the nice thing that you could do is you could slide this up into the next one. So what I mean by that, into the next one, is I'm going to start, instead of on the G, I'm going to take this note, this B note, but I'm going to find it on the D string. I can do that easily by going a whole step and another whole step, just like we would go through the major scale, right? Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. I can make that chord in the same way. So now I've got the 9th fret on the D string, which is my B. So now the B is the lowest note in what is the same chord, making it an inversion, right? So I've got a B here, I've got the D here, and then the G, my root note, is now where my middle finger is. Okay, this is a really cool one because you can really keep the same hand position, but once I get to the 9th fret with my ring finger, I just swap my pointer finger and my middle finger out, right? Okay, so in and of itself, and you might recognize this as being like a D major shaped G chord, but again, with your ring finger out front. Now, right off the bat, there's a lot of utility here. One thing that you could do is add inflections into this. Like one of my favorite ones is kind of getting this little hammer on with your middle finger to your pinky on the G string. Hammer-ons or pull-offs. So inflecting that, you do the same thing in this next position, but now my pointer finger is on the G string, so now I can hammer on a whole step with my pinky. Okay, so that's kind of like some kind of fun things that you can do to make it more musical, and it sounds like you're doing more than just playing a simple triad, but really that's essentially what we're doing with a little bit of flair, right? Now the next thing we can do here is let's take it to the next natural inversion, right? And this is really something that kind of helps solidify my understanding of how chords are built, because we have our root note here, we went 4 frets higher, a major third to grab the 3rd, and then you go 3 frets higher to grab the 5th, right? G, A, B, C, D. D is the 5th, right? So we're working our way through everything to kind of get this inversion where now D is the lowest note, the 12th fret, D, G, B. Okay, same as if you're open with an open G major chord, right? And how great is it to have a guitar that is always going to be in tune because it has the Floyd Rose system? I talk a little bit more about the system in the unboxing video, but again, this is the first time I've ever actually experienced a G&L guitar, and again, Sweetwater sent this one over. And it's awesome. Like, it plays so well. It is super simple. Volume knob, pickup. That's it. You don't have to worry about anything else. You can kind of just get the fretboard is super clean, stays in tune, looks great. Anything you get musically, please use my Sweetwater affiliate link. It helps me out so much. But this is a guitar that was first unveiled decades ago, and they're resurrecting it. So check it out because this is like a fan favorite, and I totally understand why, because it plays incredibly well, even though it is just super simple and bare bones, right? So now that we've got 1, 2, 3 chords, we can do a lot of different things with these. Yeah, well, 3 chords, 3 inversions, the same chord, right? This is just 1 triad. And then the thing that I want you to really focus on is like, all right, what's the interval between these? I'm thinking of the space between these notes as being a major third first, and then a minor third next, okay? A major third is 4 frets, and a minor third is 3 frets. And I think when I made the realization that like, oh, a major chord is just a root, a major third, and a minor third stacked, a lot of things opened up for me, right? And then what we're gonna show now with the minor chord is the same thing. It's a root note, a minor third, and then a major third. So they both end up being the same distance interval from the 1st to the 5th. It's that third in between that kind of cuts stuff up. And once you see that in your mind's eye, I think it gets a lot easier, right? So let's add one inflection kind of point to give your, put something in your bag for this spot. Because we got the G chord here with that little pinky hammer on. We've got the inversion here with the pinky hammer on. And then now I'm just kind of getting into this. What I like to do from this to here is when I get to the 12th fret, I'll actually kind of swap out, and now my pointer finger is in this spot. And again, you could do it with your ring finger, pinky, middle finger, whatever. The reason I like my pointer finger being in this spot is because this lines up perfect with the minor pentatonic licks and stuff that you probably already know, because even though this is G major, when you have it with your pointer finger like this, now it lines up with E minor or E minor pentatonic. So even though this is a major chord, I'm still thinking in that, minor pentatonic land that everybody kind of learns first, just because that's the way that big tech education has taught us to learn guitar, with position 1 minor pentatonic all the way down. But it has a lot of, utility for, maybe double stopping through these. And again, anything you want to do from D, from the D string to the B string, 12, 14, 12, 14, 12, 15. So we can kind of just use all that, keeping the simplicity of these 3 strings. And then you're always going to want to end, or it's always going to sound good to end on the 12th fret of the G string, because that is our octave G. All right? So let's couple this up, and let's do it with a minor chord. All right? G major to A minor. All right, so this is going to be the 1 chord in the key of G and the 2 chord in the key of G. Also, what's interesting is the 2 most common chords on guitar, or keys on guitar, are G and C. The reason I want to use the 1 and the 2 chord, because also if we're in the key of C, this could be the 5 chord and the 6 chord. All right, now if that's confusing, definitely check out my Patreon, because then we're getting a little bit more into like the mode stuff. The beautiful thing about triads is you're kind of mode safe, right? Because if I'm just playing the chord tones, the notes that are in the chord, the tones that are actually in the chord, those 3 notes, triads, is why triads are important, I don't have to worry about what key I'm actually in, right? Because G is a major chord in 3 keys. It could be the 1 chord in the key of G. It can be the 5 chord in the key of C, or it can be the 4 chord in the key of D, right? So until we get more information, you don't really know which one you're in. So it's like, oh, do I dare play an F sharp in this key if I'm not in the key of C? Triads has you covered. It doesn't matter what key you're in because you know that G major chord exists, so you can kind of like do arpeggio stuff or, like I said, this kind of thing with minor pentatonic. And you're always going to be safe. So that's why we're going to add the next chord, A minor. All right, so now let's put this A minor chord voicing triad in between the G major ones that we've learned, right? Because again, G major to A minor in bar chord form, 3 5 5 4 3 3, 5 7 7 5 5 5. Let's do the same idea. Let's start right here to keep a position intact, the integrity of this position. So 5 4 3, 7 5 5. Okay, so this is our first minor triad we're going to use, right? And we can slide in like this, maybe even with the hammer on. Okay, so the inflection that we'll give for this chord will be the right there. So 5 8, and then back to 5. Or we could get 5 to 7. And again, you may have already discovered this, but A minor pentatonic, any of those inflections are going to sound great here, right? But G, A. Now from here we're going to slide another whole step back to that G major inversion, and then we're going to go a half step and then play the next A minor chord, which is 10, 9, 10, okay? So again, now I have the 10th fret on the D string, which is a C. So we've got a C, its third right there, which is an E, C, E, A. All right, G, A minor, G, A minor, G, A minor. Okay, so the next one is going to be super easy because it's really the A minor that you learned first, which is really open A 2 2 1 E, but an octave higher. So again, think of 2 2 1, but over the 12th fret, right? This would be an A minor bar chord if you were to the A string, 12, 14D, 14G, 13B. But we know this one already because it's the same shape here. Now we can run these together and go back to back. All right, so G. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the D string as my bass note now because we're not talking about the low E A string. So now this is going to be my bassiest note responsible for the inversions. I'm going to go D, G and B together, and then I'm going to hit the D string again and slide into the next one. So like that. This is a cool little exercise you can turn this into. So, all right, see how I did that? So G, slide into the A position, slide into the next G position, slide into the next A position, slide into the next G position. Now let's slide into the next A position, and then because we're fancy and we want to end it on a G, maybe we'll do this. That third fret past the octave, so 15 on the high E string. And then it just sounds nice to end getting the 12th fret all the way down to get a nice G major chord. Okay, so I'll do that again. G major, A minor, G major, A minor, G major, 2 frets higher. Okay, and then you could add inflection points for all these that we talked about, kind of going all over them. The beautiful thing about doing it closed like this is now you really know all the triads for any major or minor chord that you could do, and oftentimes, depending on where you are in a key, there's going to be a minor triad right next to it. So that's why you kind of like learn, I think it helps to maybe take, once you get good at understanding where one chord is all throughout the fretboard, like that with G major, it could be cool to attach a buddy chord to it that you're going to see often in that chord, because this is almost kind of like a cheater way to really learn the entire fretboard, because now we're connecting two chords together that you're going to see in like a lot of different ways, and then maybe add that little minor pentatonic position 1 sauce to it, you know? And again, it's going to sound great on a G&L guitar with a slick neck made in Fullerton, California, right? The funny thing is about this having something with like such a nice gloss on it, I have to actually remember to clean the fingerprints off of it, which now officially, with that one single act, I have now contributed more maintenance to this new guitar than I have my entire lease length on my Mazda CX-5. R.I.P. Pay attention to those check engine light, kids. And also, check out Sweetwater and that affiliate link. Thanks again to them for sending this guitar over, sponsoring the video. Like I said, anything you get through Sweetwater, please use my affiliate link. It really helps me out a lot. And if you have any questions or comments, hit me up in the comment section or the website. I'll talk to you all soon.